Assalamu alaikum, which means peace be unto you.
Welcome to Quranic Arabic webinars. This lesson is the places of origination of the Arabic alphabet. Objectives: to understand where each letter originates from, also known as the Mukharij of the Arabic letters. We will understand why it is important to know the originating places of the Arabic letters. We will study this topic in more detail after we have learned about Fatha and Sukun. So at the moment we're only doing a very brief introduction. Later on we're going to study this Mukharij in a lot more detail. Why we will study the Mukharij? In every language, the correct pronunciation of letters can be taught by understanding how the tongue, throat and mouth are used in the pronunciation of the letters. So this is important. Most languages, when you're really trying to understand how to pronounce properly, you have to go into the detail. By correctly understanding the exact mechanics of how the sounds are produced, you have a better chance of pronouncing the Arabic letters accurately. Again, if you're not Arab, like myself, you will not be able to pronounce them 100%, but you should be able to get close to the pronunciation. Some languages have the same sort of pronunciation as Arabic, but require a slight change in the pronunciation to get it right in Arabic. This requires the understanding of the origination point of each letter. So some languages, like the one spoken in Pakistan, have the same sort of alphabets, but they pronounce some letters slightly different or even totally different depending on where the sound originates. It could be even to where they put their tongue when they try to say the letter. So by learning how this works in Arabic, you can slightly adjust your pronunciation to fit in with the Arabic pronunciation. So where can sounds originate from? So this is high level. The first place is the throat, i.e. your air passage, known as al-halq. We can divide this into the bottom of the throat, the middle of the throat and the very top of the throat. The second place is the oral cavity, that's the space between the tongue and the roof of the mouth, known as al-jawf. We then have the nasal cavity, i.e. the air passage in your nose, going to the back towards your throat. This is known as al-khayshum. We have the two lips, known as ash-shafatan. And we have the tongue, which is known as al-lisan. A bit more detail about the mouth following on. Again, we have the bottom of the throat, the middle of the throat and the very top of the throat. We'll study the top of the mouth. So right at the back of your mouth you have a very soft part of the back of the mouth, known as the soft palate. Moving towards the middle of the mouth, the top roof of your mouth is known as the hard palate in the middle, or the roof of the mouth. You also have, coming towards the front of the top of your mouth, the hard palate at the front roof of the mouth. We then have the very front of your hard palate, which some people will call the gums, where the hard palate meets the upper front teeth. And we have the gums at the bottom of your mouth, which meet with the front bottom teeth. So group 2, the letter Fa is in group 2. So here we have the letter Fa. Now when you pronounce the letter Fa, your upper front teeth should touch the inner wet portion of your bottom lip. So say Fa, Fa. The next three letters which are in group 2, so the same group as Fa, because it still has to do with the lips, are Mim, Ba and wow. So when you say meme, your front two lips come together. However, it's the outer dry portion of your lips that should be touching. So say meme. When you say ba, your lips come together, but it's the wet portion or the inner parts of your lips that actually touch. So say ba. And when you say wow, wow, you make a small circle with your lips, and it's only the two outer right and left parts of your lips that are actually touching. So say wow. The next group of letters are all the throat letters. So we'll start with two letters which originate right at the bottom of the throat. So the letters are Hamza and the soft ha. Now Hamza in Arabic represents what we call the glottal stop. Now in English you have no letter to represent the glottal stop. However, if you were to say any letter beginning with one of the English vowel sounds, so for instance the letter A, if you say 8 but say it very slowly, 8, you should feel that your throat blocks a tiny bit right at the beginning. That's known as the glottal stop. So in Arabic that's represented by the letter Hamza, and that's why it's drawn right at the bottom of the throat. And the small letter Ha, which is a very soft Ha, also originates from the bottom of your throat. The next two in group 3, i.e. the throat letters, is two letters which are at the middle of the throat, originate in the middle of the throat. This is the letter Ain and the letter Ha. So this Ha is what we call the forceful Ha, because you're exhaling a bit more forcefully and that air is being pushed out from the middle of your throat. So again, Ain and Ha. The next two letters in group 3, i.e. we're still on the throat letters, is the top of the throat. So this is two letters, which is Ghain and Kho. Ghain and Kho. And you'll notice that your tongue doesn't actually touch the back of the top of your mouth, but it's really a sound taking place right at the top of your throat. Group 4 then is when we do move into where the tongue is being involved. So what we've got here is two letters pronounced where the back of the tongue is touching the soft palate, which is the top part of the very back of your mouth. Now there are two letters which are operating slightly differently. So we have Qaf and Kaf. So when you say Qaf, the back of your tongue effectively touch the very back of the soft palate and blocks the air before you release the sound. So it's Qaf, Qaf. Whereas the Kaf, Kaf, is again touching the soft palate, but it's slightly more forward than the Qaf, and it's just said normally quite softly as Kaf, Kaf. Group 5 is operating where the tongue is touching the hard palate almost in the middle of the mouth. Again, there are three letters and they have slightly different positions. So we've got the letter Ya, Ya, which is almost exactly in the middle of the mouth, i.e. your middle of your tongue touching the top hard palate in the middle of your mouth. We have the letter Jim, Jim, still towards the middle of the top of your mouth but slightly more forward. And then we have Sheen, Sheen, which goes just a little bit more forward, but still we would still class that towards the middle of the top of the mouth on the hard palate. So that was group 5. Group 6 then is where the tip of your tongue, or the very upper front of your tongue, is touching the hard palate at the front of the mouth, but not the gums. So we're not as far as the gums, which meet the front teeth, slightly behind that. And again, slightly different variation in how the tongue operates, but generally the front of the tongue touching the hard palate just before the gums. So the first letter is the letter Ra, Ra, and you should notice when you say that the back of your tongue lifts up as well. Ra, Ra. Next one is Lam, Lam. So a bit more pressure on the front of the tongue. The back of the tongue is as normal, it's not raised. Then we have a Noon, Noon. So again, the tip of the tongue pressing on the front hard palate. Your lips actually go a bit round with the Noon, Noon. That's group 6. Group 7 is where the front of the tongue meets the gum, and it's slightly on the front upper teeth as well. So going over your gums and your front teeth. Okay, so that's the very front hard palate, also known as the gums, and the front upper teeth. The letters that are said like this, 2 of them start in exactly the same way, i.e. the position of the tongue. So we have the letter Ta, Ta, and we have the letter Dal, Dal. And the other one we have is the letter Do, Do. So you apply a bit more pressure on the front of the tongue this time, and the back of the tongue raises a little bit. Do, Do. So that was group 7. Group 8 is where the tip of the tongue starts between the upper and lower teeth. So the letters in group 8 is the letter Tha, Tha, and then we have the letter Dhal, Dhal. So both of them, your tongue is just between your upper and lower teeth. So not right outside your mouth, i.e. it's not protruding outside the lips, but still just between the 2 front teeth. The other one is the letter Dho, Dho, which again you apply a bit more pressure on the tongue at the front, and the back of the tongue will lift. So we have the letter Tha, Dhal, and Dho, and that was group 8. Group 9 is where the tip of the tongue touches the bottom gums and the inside bottom front teeth. And the 3 letters is Za, Sin, and Sod. And again, Za, Sin, the tongue touching the lower gums and the bottom of the inside teeth, the tongue as normal. And Sod, Sod, bit more pressure on the tongue, and the back of the tongue will lift a little bit. So that was group 9. The last group is group number 10, which consists of just 1 letter, and the letter is Bod. Now this is quite difficult to say, and it's difficult to show in a diagram, but effectively what you're doing, if you're right-handed, the left side of your tongue will touch the upper left teeth on the top row of teeth. So your upper left teeth, your left side of your tongue will touch. So say bod. So it's like saying the English word door, but putting your tongue on the upper left teeth and applying pressure and then releasing it. So you say bod. Now notice as well that there will be a portion of the sort of middle part of your tongue, i.e. the middle part going through the whole length of your tongue, which will be touching the hard palate roof of the mouth as well. But the main thing is to try and get the left side of your tongue to touch your upper left teeth and say bod, bod. If you're left-handed, you would normally put the right side of your tongue onto the upper right teeth, and some people can do it both left and right side. So that was group 10, the letter bod. The next slide is about what we call nasalization. So there are times when you're pronouncing certain things in Arabic where you hold the sound in your nose, so it's like a small reverberation inside your nasal cavity. We're going to study the nasalization of noon and meme here, and this nasalization that takes place is known as al-ghunna, al-ghunna. So we're going to have a look at it operating with meme and noon. So with meme, it will normally happen when there's some sort of sound joining to meme. So an example is and effectively what you're doing is forcing the sound up into your nasal cavity. And with the noon, same sort of thing, a joining sound. So that's forcing the sound into your nasal cavity. So those sort of sounds are known as al-ghunna, and it can happen with other letters as well, but we'll cover that in the more advanced stages of the tajweed. In conclusion then, we have learned the places of origination of all the Arabic alphabet and some of the long vowels as well. We will cover the places of origin and the exact letter pronunciations later on, after we have studied fatha and sukun. So again, that was only a very brief introduction, and there's certain techniques that you can apply to check your makharij. This lesson is practicing the makharij with sukun. Objectives. We will learn what the term sakin means, and we will understand where each letter originates from, also known as the makharij of the Arabic letters. And to properly check our makharij, you must pronounce each alphabet letter with sukun. So this is a known methodology for practicing the makharij, i.e. where the letter or the point of articulation of a letter comes from. So we will practice the letters in groups of letters according to their makharij, i.e. all the letters which come from the same place in the mouth or with the tongue or the lips. We will learn also what qalqala letters are. So first, the term sakin. Any letter with sukun on it is known as a sakin letter. So this is just terminology. So here we have noon sakin and meme sakin. So the noon has a sukun on top of it, and that's the way it's written in the Uthmani script. So it will be known as noon sakin, and the meme has a sukun on top of it, so it will be known as meme sakin. So that terminology is important, especially when we get into the tajweed level, because there are certain rules to do with the pronunciation of noon sakin and meme sakin. A recap here of where the sounds can originate from. The first place is the throat, known as al-halq, and we divide the throat into three portions: the bottom of the throat, the middle of the throat, and the top of the throat, the very uppermost part of the throat. Then we have what's known as the oral cavity, i.e. the space in your actual mouth, and that's known as al-jawf. And then we have the nasal cavity, i.e. the air passage in your nose going to the back of your throat, known as al-khayshum. Then we have the lips, i.e. both the lips, known as ash-shafatan, the two lips. And we have the tongue itself, known as al-lisan. A bit more detail about the mouth and the throat. So we've seen the throat is divided in terms of our pronunciation to the bottom of the throat, the middle of the throat, and the top of the throat. We have the soft palate at the back of the throat, so that's a very soft part of the top back of your mouth, known as the soft palate. You have a hard palate, which is all the way from the middle of the top of your mouth all the way towards the front of the mouth. So you have the hard palate in the middle of the mouth, known as the roof of the mouth. We have the hard palate at the front portion of the roof of the mouth as well. And then we have where the hard palate meets the actual teeth, and that's really known as the gums around your inner upper teeth. We then have the gums on the lower teeth, i.e. at the bottom of your bottom teeth, joining with the actual teeth themselves. So these will come important when we're talking about the مخارج, because we need to be very precise with what we're doing with the movements within our mouth. Practicing the مخارج with sukun. When you pronounce the letters as sakin, you can easily tell what point of articulation is for the letter. Notice, unlike when letters are pronounced with short vowels, i.e. when the sound is produced by moving the two parts of articulation away from each other, i.e. when we use a short vowel like fatha, so if we say ba or ta, the points, i.e. like your tongue or, and touching your teeth, when you actually give the ah sound, the parts of the mouth used to make the sound are moving away from each other. So if you say ah or e or oo, you'll notice that the parts of your mouth are actually coming away from each other. Now when you use sukun, the sound is actually made by the parts of your mouth which are involved in the pronunciation actually coming together, sometimes called collision. For instance, here we have the hamza on top of the alif with fatha, and we have the fa with the sukun. So this would be pronounced as af. Now if you say af, you'll notice that your top teeth, front teeth, come together with the inner portion of your bottom lips. So that's exactly the opposite with the short vowels. So when you use sukun, the parts that are involved in the pronunciation of the letter with sukun come together. So again, af brings parts of your mouth together. So that's an important part to understand. Now the qalqala letters, and this is it written in Arabic, so it's al qalqala, and the sukun in this actual writing is the computer font, i.e. round circles. So 5 of the alphabet letters are known as the qalqala letters, and in English we normally just call them the echo letters. And the reason they're called echo, so I'll just read this out, this is because you cannot complete the letter's sound with sakin when bringing the different parts of the mouth together. The sound must be completed by separation of the parts of the mouth. So with these 5 letters, when you add this sukun, you have to bring your mouth parts together, but you cannot complete the pronunciation of the sound until you separate your parts of the mouth again. So it's slightly different just for these 5 letters. So this causes a slight echo sound which is produced with the separation, and we'll explain this on the next slide. 5 of the letters which give a slight echo sound when they are sakin are shown below. Okay, and we will show them in light blue when an echo is required. Heavy letters will be shown in red unless they are also qalqala letters, in which case they will also be light blue. So when we have some letters with sukun, i.e. they're sakin, and they require an echo, we're going to draw them in light blue. Some of those letters are also the heavy letters, which in most of our lessons we've shown them as a sort of dark red. So in that case we won't show them as dark red, we'll show them as light blue because the echo is more important in this case. These 5 letters then are the ones that are known as the qalqala letters, or the echo letters, and you can just remember them as qa, ta, ja, da, ba. So easy way to remember it is simply qa, ta, ja, da, ba. Okay, so that's the qaf, the ta, jim, dal, ba, but it's easier to remember qa, ta, ja, da, ba. Okay, so putting an example here, so we've got again the hamza on the alif with fatha giving a, and then we've got the qaf, and we've drawn it in light blue because when you have a sukoon on it, it's going to have this attribute of an echo. So if you just try saying aq, so just by bringing the parts of your mouth together, i.e. we go a, and then you've got the qa of the qaf, so you would normally say aq, aq. So if you try to say it without the slight echo, you cannot complete the sound. You end up saying aq, but you can't complete the actual sound because you have to release the 2 parts of your mouth which come together in order to complete the actual sound. So this would be aq, and it's a very slight echo, and it's only the sound made of releasing the 2 parts of articulation. So you don't overdo it like aq or overemphasizing, because then you may end up making the qaf sound as if it's got a fatha on it. So you don't want aq, you just want aq, and it should happen naturally. So places of articulation. This is a slide just showing the letters all grouped together according to where you pronounce them from in the 3 major parts of your mouth. So you've got the throat letters, which are 6, which is hamza, the soft ha, the ain, the forceful ha, the ghain, and the kha. The tongue letters are 18, so all of these 18 come somewhere from the tongue, or i.e. the tongue is involved. So we've got the qaf, the kaf, the ya, the jim, sheen, noon, lam, ra, dad, tha, dha, dha, ta, dal, ta, sin, za, and sad. Okay, so again they're actually grouped according to where they come from. So even though they're all using the tongue, the qaf and the kaf come from one area, the ya, jim, sheen all come from one area, the noon, lam, ra come from one area, the dad is on its own in the way it's pronounced, the tha, dhal, and the dha come from one area, the ta, dal, and tha come from another area, i.e. another area but all together. The sin, the za, and the sad all come from one area. Then the lip letters, i.e. the letters that require the lips to be involved, is the ba, the waw, the mim, and the fa. Okay, so we're going to look at all the letters being pronounced with sukoon in their groups. The first group, which we call group 1, involves the long vowel sounds, and we'll cover that when we get into the lesson on the long vowel sounds. So starting from group 2, which is really the letters that involve the lip, we'll start just with fa. So with sukoon, so all of these practices, we're going to practice a sukoon on top of the actual letter, but we're going to precede it with the hamza, with the fatha. So it starts with the ah sound, and then we join it to the letter, which is working with its sukoon, i.e. its sakin. So in this case, it's going to be af, af. And you should really be able to feel your teeth coming together, your upper teeth coming together with the inside of your bottom lips. And by pronouncing it with the sukoon, you should start to see, you can really tell where the actual place or which parts of your mouth are being involved. So say af. So we move into the other letters that involve the lips. So we're still in group 2. So it's the meme, the ba, and the wow. So we have am. So you should notice the dry portion of your lips touching together. Then we have ab. Again, this is one of the echo letters. You cannot complete it without separating the two parts of your mouth that come together, i.e. in this case the lips. So we have ab, ab, and you can feel the wet portion of your lips come together. And then we have ow, ow. And with the wow, you'll notice that you make a small circle with the lips, and it's the outer right and left side of your lips that come together. Ow. Group 3 then is the throat, but the very lowest point of your throat. And these two are a bit difficult to pronounce with the sukoon. So we have the what we call the soft ha and the hamza. So the soft ha will be pronounced as ah, ah. So you have to try and bring the ha from the bottom of your throat. So again, it's ah. So not too heavy, you've got no air actually coming right up through the front of the mouth. It's from the bottom of the throat only. And then for the hamza, it's simply ah, ah. And that is, remember, the hamza acts as the glottal stop in Arabic, and you should feel a slight blocking of the bottom of your throat. So ah, ah. The next portion of the throat is the middle of the throat, and we have the forceful ha. So you'll pronounce this with sukoon as ah, and you'll feel a lot of air should come out the front of your mouth. So ah. Then we have the ayn, and this one is very difficult for non-Arabs. I myself am not Arab, and the way to practice this is to think you're at the dentist and they say, can you say ah, and then at the end of the ah, try and block the middle of your throat. So we say ah, ah. Okay, and then if we just shorten that a bit, it'd be ah, ah. So that'll give you the ayn. So you're blocking the middle of your throat when you say the ah, ah. Some people can't actually do that, so just try your best. The top of the throat then is the letter kha and ghain. So we've got them in red here because they are the heavier letters. So the first one with sakin would be akh, akh. And you have to sometimes overemphasize this. So it's akh, akh. And then we have the ghain, which would be agh, agh, agh. So we have akh and agh, akh, agh. Group 4 is moving up, so we're going from the bottom of the throat up and forward to the front of the mouth. So these two, group 4 is qaf and kaf. So this involves the tongue, the back of the tongue, touching the very back upper portion of your throat. So it's really to do with the soft palate. The qaf is slightly behind the kaf. So again, with the qaf, we have a slight echo. So you have to say aq, aq. And effectively, when you say the qaf, you block the throat and release the sound, so qaf. But when you're using it in sarking, it's the opposite. You try to say the beginning of the sound and then you block the throat, so it's aq. And you have to separate at the end in order to finish the sound, which gives a slight echo, aq. Then we have the normal kaf, so this will just be ak. So you have to be very careful to differentiate. So one is aq and the other one is ak. Ak. Next we have group 5. So this is where the tongue or the middle portion of your tongue is touching the hard palate at the roof of your mouth, slightly in the middle of the roof of your mouth and moving slightly forward beyond the middle of the roof of your mouth as well. So we'll start with the first one, and with the ya you get a special type of sound known as a. Now this is actually known as a gliding sound, two sounds gliding together. In English they know it as diphthongs, and when you pronounce this you actually have to pronounce it of a length of 2, and we'll cover this in the long sounds. So this will be a. The next one is aj. And again, you cannot complete this without separation, so you get a slight echo, aj. Okay, again the articulation point is slightly further forward than the a, so you should concentrate to feel where your middle of your tongue is touching on the roof of your mouth. And the last one is ash. Again, slightly further forward. So we have a, aj, ash. And make sure you only have the slight echo on the aj. The next group is where the tongue, or the tip of the tongue, or right at the front of the tongue, the upper portion of the front of the tongue, touches the hard palate very forward in the top of your mouth, so almost near your gums but slightly behind, so not actually touching the gums, i.e. where you meet the teeth, but slightly behind. So the first, or the 3 letters, is the ra, the lam and the noon. So the ra, with a fatha on the letter before it, if it carries sukoon, goes into a heavy letter, i.e. it's tafkhim. So this will be pronounced as ar, so you cannot say ar, it's ar. And the tafkhim is really done by lifting the back of the tongue a little bit. So you say ar, ar. And try not to roll the ra, so don't go ar, ar. Okay, if you happen to roll it once, that's normally fine, so we just say ar, ar. Be very careful not to get into the habit of rolling, and you should feel the top of your, or the tip of your tongue touching the front hard palate at the front top portion of your mouth. Next one is al, just that, straightforward, al, al. And then we have an, an. So it's ar, al, an. Group 7 is where the tip of the tongue is touching where the gums meet the front upper teeth, and your tongue will be slightly going on to the teeth itself. And the 3 letters in this group is ta, dal and ta. So with the sukoon we have at, and when you say at, you'll notice you have to let a bit of air through the teeth, but it's not an echo. But to complete it you have to let a bit of air through the teeth, so you say at. Then we have ad, 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 and that is an echo, ad, slight echo, ad. And Then we have the ta, which is one of the tafkhim letters, i.e. the thick letters, or sorry, the heavy letters. So that is going to be out, out, and it's got a slight echo, so they'll normally say out. So you have to differentiate between the at, which is light, i.e. tarqiq, and out, which is heavy, so it's tafkhim plus it's qalqala, so it's got an echo as well. So we have out, yeah, so that also echoes and it's heavy. So we have at, ad, and out. At, ad, and out. Next group is where the tip of the tongue is between your upper and lower front teeth, so not outside the mouth, just very slightly. The tip of your tongue is very slightly between the upper and lower front teeth. So we have the letters tha, dhal, and dha, and that will give the sound of ath, adh, and aldh. Now the dha again is tafkhim, so you have to lift the back of your tongue to give the heaviness sound. So again it's ath, adh, and aldh. So we have to differentiate very carefully between the dhal and the dha. So it's adh and aldh, adh, aldh. Again all three, ath, adh, aldh. And these three a lot of people find very difficult, so it takes a lot of listening to and practice not to confuse the three. So remember the tha, it's got a th sound, so it's ath, whereas the dhal is more like the English word the, so it has ath, sorry, adh, adh. So you've got ath and adh. And then we have the tafkhim dha, so it becomes aldh, aldh. So when you finish that saying the aldh, the tip of your tongue should be just between your teeth. The next group, group 9, is where the tip of the tongue is touching your bottom gums where they meet the bottom inside teeth. And we have the letters za, sin, and sad. Again, sad is one of the tafkhim letters. So the pronunciation is as, because it's za, so it becomes as. The sin is effectively the English s, so it becomes as. And then we have the thick version of that, which is a sad, so it becomes os. So we have as, os, as, os. So the difficult one here, and all three of them are very much alike. The first one, as, is like the English word as, whereas the as is like the as in the word astronaut, as. And the os is, I suppose, quite close to the English word us, but with a full mouth, os, os. So we have as, os. Group 10 is the letter dad on its own, so it's like a thick D, dad, and with the sukun it will give the sound of ad, ad, ad. Okay, so it's one of the more difficult ones to pronounce, and the non-Arabs find this very difficult. So if you try and say dad and then say ad, so again it's thick letters, so the back of the tongue will come up a bit, ad. And remember, the dad is normally pronounced with the left side of the tongue touching the upper left teeth. So even when you do it with sukun, you should feel the left side of your tongue touching the upper left teeth. So it's ad, ad. Okay, so in conclusion then, we've gone through in detail our makharij, or the points of articulation, and generally when you practice that you do them with this sukoon, exactly as we have done, the hamza with the fatha and then the actual letter with sukoon, i.e. sakin. And we also know what the qalqala letters are, i.e. the echo letters, which were the 5 that have to be pronounced with a slight echo in order to complete the sound.